Oh, wow. Wow, wow, wow. Oh my word, guys. I'm hoping a few of you just watched that game. That was insane. Like, FPL aside for a second. What a game. What a game of football. That was crazy. It had everything. It had goals. It had drama. It had red cards. It had VAR checks going on forever. VAR officials definitely earning their wages in this game. Oh my word. I can't believe what I've just witnessed. I just feel like, yes, FPL, stinky game week. Very, very stinky game week. But I mean, I can barely believe what we've seen this game, this weekend. Been a crazy one, guys. Been an absolutely insane one. I love it. I love football. I love the Premier League. This is why we watch. This is why we watched. Had to put on the Arsenal shirt for this Spurs demolition. Why not? Man. Crazy. Crazy, crazy, crazy. In the end, I know it's been a tough week for everyone. It's I know everyone has been it's just there's the phrase everyone says, but a good week to have a bad week, a good game week to have a bad game week, because everyone scored low, everyone scored pretty low. I'll be up to 35 after bonus, which apparently gives me a green arrow. But Cole Palmer has actually completely bailed me out. I think I was on 20 points before the Chelsea versus Spurs game. Cole Palmer with the 12 pointers, 2 points from Son, nothing. Maddison 1 pointer, injured in the first half. And I think I was, to be fair, probably helped by the fact that a lot of people have Romero and UDOGIE in their teams. Oh my word, I can't even believe it, like what I'm saying. UDOGIE and Romero both scoring minus 4 points each. Minus 4 points each. Someone out there has both of them. Someone out there has both of those players. I know, like, luckily a few people probably got lucky escapes and sold the likes of UDOGIE, like this game week or last game week. Man, that feels better now, I imagine. Absolutely crazy. I think UDOGIE in the last 5 game weeks has scored, I think it's now 4 points after his injury and his minus 4 pointer. He's scored. It's been a disaster. It's and now like Romero and UDOGIE owners, they've now got to deal with not only the minus 4 points they just got, and now they have to replace these players because they're obviously suspended, I guess. So we need to talk about that. Was not expecting to talk about that today, but we do need to do that. Maddison, not sure on the extent of the injury, because obviously I imagine there'll be press conferences and stuff happening after the game. Now whilst I'm doing this stream. So, we'll soon find out the extent of Maddison's injury, I imagine. If not today, then maybe tomorrow. By the end of the week, certainly. But Maddison might be another player we need to now sell and replace. We've had some injury news around the world today as well. We've got Dan Burn. A lot of people have Dan Burn. He's going to be injured for 2 to 3 months. We've got Matty Cash. Apparently his shoulder injury is not too serious, so not too worried about that one. Erling Haaland is training as normal as well, so again, not worried about that one. Lamptey, he is a doubt for the Europa League game, so I don't know if he's going to be available. And then we've got likes of Turner going to be rotated as well. So those are the headlines. I've got them down in the ticker thing down there. The headlines for the injury updates that we've had today on Monday. But yeah, Maddison to add to that. Romero and UDOGIE with the suspensions to be added to that. Be interested to see how big the how long the suspensions are for. Is it going to be 1 game? Is it going to be more than that? I don't know. Trident says it's 33 points, a green arrow. It might be. It depends what your rank is. Me at 35, it's a fairly solid green arrow. I think I've got up like 40,000 places, so we really are knocking on the door for the top 100,000 now, which I'm really, really pleased about. A tough week in general, but 35 points is apparently a good score. Like, genuinely a good score. I think anything above 30 points this game week, and you could consider yourself very, very fortunate. I imagine some of you guys in the chat may even have struggled to break 20 points this week, which is quite wild, really. Show my bench? I can if you want me to. Turner 0 points, Taylor 1, Kabore 8 points. I was never going to play him anyway, so I don't really feel too bad about that one. And Mubama 0 points as well, but you know, who cares about that? Because we've got Cole Palmer. We've got Cole Palmer with 2 bonus points coming as well. It's a shame Jackson robbed him of that extra bonus point, but he did get the assist for that final goal, so that's pretty nice there. It's pretty nice there. Really, really happy with that one. Okay, so Scott in the chat has said, can we discuss the best 4 to 5 million defenders? And I think that is very, very sensible. I think that's a very, very sensible thing to do, because I think that's priority number one. Priority number one for a lot of you guys is going to be replacing your cheap defender, right? So, like I say, I wasn't expecting to do this today, but we are going to do it. So let's head over to the Fantasy Football Hub Opta Stats tool. If you want to check this out for yourself, you can do so by clicking on the link in the description. Let's actually also open the points prediction as well. Let's see what the points prediction is saying. Let's go game week range 12 to 16. So you've got a nice 5 game week range there, and we'll take the prices down to, let's say, 5.5 or less. So we really can go for the cheap defenders here. So obviously we've got a couple of Man City defenders here. They are the best defence in the league. However, the fixtures are pretty brutal. So probably would not be looking at them. We've got like UDOGIE and Wan-Bissaka with high predicted points. But again, not sure I would want to be touching them. vypgmt is in here. One of the few remaining Newcastle defenders with the lack of Burn and the lack of Botman now. So you can kind of understand why. Obviously we're going to have some Crystal Palace defenders in here. Some Arsenal defenders in here. And somehow Brighton defenders have snuck in here as well, despite their poor defences. So another thing I want to look at before we have a look at the defenders themselves, I want to have a look at the defences. So I'm back on the Opta Stats tool. We're going to go on the teams page. We're going to sort by defensive, and we're going to have an updated look at the non-penalty expected goals against from each team per appearance to see who are the strongest and weakest defences. So straight away, we can start identifying which kind of defences we want to go in on, because if I'm totally honest, guys, for attacking returns, not really too many defenders are doing it for me right now. So it is going to be clean sheets are going to be a big part of what we're going to be doing. So straight up, we can see Arsenal at the top here. So Arsenal defence, a great team to target. Man City, you would say, if they had better fixtures, you would probably maybe want to target them as well. Newcastle, of course, we expect to see here. Chelsea as well. But Chelsea's next 2 fixtures are horror. If we go to the fixture ticker here, just have a look at the fixtures over the next few weeks. You can see Chelsea, Man City, Newcastle, Brighton, and Manchester United. If you're a defender, it's probably not your favourite run of fixtures. So it really is Arsenal looking good. West Ham have been poor defensively. Bournemouth have been poor defensively. There is argument to say Brighton, to be fair. I know Brighton are not the best defence in the Premier League, but if we look at this this defensive kind of table of who's been the strongest defences so far this season, you can see that Brighton are just around mid-table there. So, no, they're not a good defence, but you wouldn't call them one of the weaker defences in the league. And you could pick up some points if you did, if you went in on some Brighton defenders at the right moments. And with the good fixtures, this could be a right moment. West Ham obviously pretty low as well, so probably not going to touch them. Neither Manchester United. So we do need to strike a balance between who has been the best defences this season and who has the best fixtures. And straight away, Arsenal are the team that stand out the most, followed by maybe Brighton. And obviously, Crystal Palace have nice short-term fixtures there as well. We can maybe talk about Newcastle as well, because they've been a pretty strong defence. Could we talk about Everton? Are they worth talking about? Maybe. Because they've really, really improved defensively as well. You can see they're now sitting at 5th on the defensive numbers, which is a real improvement from them. Really, really improved team there. So straight away, defences we want to be targeting: Arsenal, Everton, Brighton, and maybe Newcastle as well. Even though the fixtures aren't amazing, and they are lacking a few defenders, I think we do need to talk about them a little bit. So it's those 4. I don't think I'd be going outside of that. Like, some people I know are looking at Wolves defenders right now. I'm not huge on it. So let's have a look. Let's have a look and try and figure out who are the defenders to go for. So we've got our defensive numbers. We know what teams we want to be targeting. Let's have a look at defenders. who has been getting the best expected points per start so far this season. Let's filter out some of the low minutes players, I guess. I mean, Tsimikas is maybe still an option. I think now he's had that rest, he's more likely to play in future games. I know there's certain Newcastle defenders you guys are going to want to talk about, but we'll get there. We will get there. Trippier, obviously always an option. I know he doesn't quite fit the budget if you're looking for a direct, cheap defender replacement, but maybe worth talking about as well. I think Walker and Stones, despite the bad fixtures, again, maybe we need to consider these players. And moving further down the list, can we say Pedro Porro? Maybe. I'm going to put Saliba in there. I'm not going to go Pedro Porro just because of all the now the Spurs are basically missing their whole back line. Yeah, I'm not sure they have the quality on the bench. Burn, not going to happen. Share, we need to think about. Lascelles, like him for his nice cheap price in the short term. Where can we find? I want to find a few more. There's a few more players I've got my eye on. So Stupinian, I still think it's a little early to go on Chelsea defenders. Mark Gahey, we need to go like Mitchell and Anderson as well, I guess. So let's just find the players I'm looking for. Anderson, we're going to put them all on the list. Anderson from Crystal Palace, Mitchell from Crystal Palace, Branthwaite. Nice cheap guy there from Everton. Is there any other Brighton defenders we really would consider? I guess Lewis Dunk. But I mean, if you, yeah, I don't know. I guess just 5 million seems a little bit too much for me. I think that is pretty much it. Unless I am missing. Oh, okay. Well, I'm gonna put Livramento on the list. Hasn't actually got any minutes really yet, or many anyway. No start certainly. Livramento and Lewis Hall as well, and we were going to talk about them as well. Okay, so I think, unless I'm missing anyone really obvious, I think this, what you see on screen right now, guys, is probably going to be a list of the defenders to go for right now. Obviously, if you can afford Trippier, if you can get Trippier into your team, that's going to be very, very helpful. The likes of Walker and Stones could be pretty nice going forward for that Man City defence. They're probably better long-term picks than they are short-term because, again, going back to these fixtures, looking at Man City, Chelsea away, Liverpool at home, Tottenham at home, Aston Villa away. It's not, these are well, mostly teams that score goals. Aside from maybe Chelsea, but then Chelsea just scored 4, but, there's special circumstances, I guess. But, look, this is not a run of fixtures you would really want to own like Man City defenders. If you can hold off a little while longer, then maybe you would want to do that. But even, like, from game week 16 and 17, if I extend the range out to 18, Man City don't even have a fixture in game week 18, do they? Joe Heaton says, hi, Dan, would you consider Estupinian? Yes, he's on the list. So he's on this list I've got here. He is definitely, if he is available, a player who I would strongly consider as your like new defender for your team. I would strongly consider it. So yeah. I'm gonna say that maybe there is some argument to say go for Estupinian. As long as he's fit, as long as he's available. Because the fixtures do look okay from a defensive point of view for Brighton. Looking through Brighton. Where are you, Brighton? You are here. Sheffield United next. That's a pretty good chance for clean sheet. Then Forest. Chelsea away and Brentford at home aren't great. But then we've got Burnley. Crystal Palace a couple of weeks after that as well. So there still are some opportunities to get some clean sheets here for Brighton if they can improve their defense a little bit. But maybe a Stupinian kind of helps that a little bit. So yeah, these are the kind of players I'd be going for. Like, I know a lot of you guys are looking for the cheap guys from this list. If we're looking for 5 million or less, it does narrow us down a little bit. We'll be possibly looking at Tsimikas still, possibly. For me personally, who I would choose personally, the answer is either Gabriel, Lascelles, or Mitchell. That is what I would say. I think all of the other players have various problems. So, for example, Brighton defenders haven't been reliable, and also we're still not sure about Estupiñán's injury status, how often he'll be able to play. Tsimikas, we know now he's rotation risk. I still think Tsimikas should be considered, but would I be comfortable with going for him right now ahead of the likes of Gabriel? No, not really. So we've got some other players here. Anderson, a little bit expensive at 5 million when you can get one of his teammates for like 4.5. Seems a little expensive. Branthwaite is nice at 4 million. Branthwaite is pretty nice at 4 million. And finally, Livramento and Hall. So obviously with Burn injured, Newcastle need a new left back, or are going to start a new left back. And it's likely that it's going to be Trippier moving over to left back and Livramento coming in at right back. Livramento is 4.3 million, by the way, so a decent price. The problem is, Livramento is, for me, not a particularly reliable defender. I don't expect, when we see Trippier and his attacking returns, I would never expect Livramento to match a Trippier. I really wouldn't. I wouldn't expect that to happen. Look, we've seen already that the Newcastle, the gap between Trippier and the other Newcastle defenders is quite significant. And I don't think Livramento is a magic wand that suddenly becomes the new Trippier. It's probably just not going to happen. Not on set pieces. He will probably have to play a little bit deeper to accommodate Trippier going higher up the pitch, because that is so crucial to the way that Newcastle are playing. And it might even, like Jananya said in the super chat right now, do you think Trippier playing left back will impact his FPL potential? Possibly, yeah, possibly will. It remains to be seen. He's played there for England before. He's done well for England there before, so I don't want to say for sure. Like, Trippier will still be on all set pieces, and that's a lot of the way he generates his kind of chances created and his bonus points is by taking set pieces. But Livramento, like, I know a lot of people are going to want to go for him. And that's fair enough. If you want to take that risk, go for it. But one, don't expect as many points as Trippier. And two, don't expect that he's going to play every game. Because he's not. It's going to be Livramento and Lewis Hall. They're going to be rotating around, taking it in turns to play. I think Livramento will probably play most games, but don't underestimate the potential for Lewis Hall to come in and play some games. And it might actually be that Hall plays the easier games as well. So the games you'd actually want Livramento to be playing for your FPL team, those games might be the ones that Hall plays, and Livramento is on the bench, probably gets subbed on 1-pointers. So it's a dangerous game you're playing in order to try and cut a corner by going for a super cheap Newcastle defender. Now, in the short term, whilst Botman is out, Lascelles is the answer. He is a player you might have to potentially sell, but it's not the same. Livramento is not a player you'd need to sell at some point, because you're going to have him for a long time. 2 to 3 months is a long time in FPL, and you can hold Livramento through that whole period of time. But you are going to be frustrated at times. Fixtures are going to start coming thick and fast for Newcastle. They've got European games, they've got cup games, we've got the Christmas schedule coming up, which means a lot of the time we're going to have 2 Premier League games within the space of 1 calendar week. So it's going to be pretty crazy times, and there is going to be rotation between Livramento and Hull. If you don't believe that, or you don't, you don't care about that, then fine, go for Livramento. There is some upside there. There's definitely some upside there, which could work out. Someone says the same thing for Gabriel, though. Disagree. For centre-backs, it's a lot different. Centre-backs can play 38 games for a season and then all cup games as well. And Gabriel's literally proven that. He did that last season. Yes, he was rested after playing a lot of games in all competitions, then went away with Brazil, played a lot of minutes there for Brazil, and then came back. Arteta identified a easier game and rotated him. After that, Arsenal lose 1-0 to Newcastle. Gabriel's had his rest. He ain't getting rested again. I mean, like, he might, but it's not going to happen very, very frequently, to me. It's not going to happen very, very quickly, in my opinion. I think Gabriel's pretty safe from here on, which is why I think he is possibly the defender to go for. I think that's where I would be going personally. Like, I'm making my buy, sell, keep, avoid video tomorrow, and you guys are going to be looking for a new defender. I think Gabriel's going to be the guy. I'll make sure I'll try and do some more research, see if I've missed anything. But Gabriel is my guy, I think. Yeah, I think he should be nailed. Set piece threat, plays for the joint best defense in the league statistically in Arsenal, and has some fantastic fixtures coming up as well. Everything is there that we could kind of wish for in a cheap defender right now. And remember, yeah, we are talking about cheap defender, so don't expect like Trippier hauls from him. Might happen occasionally, but very, very rarely. But I think he's still going to be a nice 6 point, 7 point kind of guy with maybe a 1 bonus point every so often. I think that's going to be really nice. Got another super chat here from Naf Paul, Paul Raj, who says, is Tomiyasu a potential starter or a huge risk? Huge risk, man. Huge risk. Yeah, certainly it's like the first team for Arsenal, the starting back line for Arsenal is Zinchenko on the left, Gabriel left centre-back, Saliba right centre-back, and Ben White at right-back. Those are the main four. There's going to be a little bit of rotation here and there. We're going to see Tomiyasu coming and play some minutes, but he's going to be getting 1 pointers far more often than he's going to be getting 6 pointers. So, yeah, doesn't seem worthwhile to me. Would not be considering Tomiyasu at all, personally. Dogman with a £5 super chat here says, that ref was terrible. James should have been sent off. There goes our season. Out of Europe once again, thanks to Romero. I don't know, man. Like, you've had a fantastic season. As an Arsenal fan, we also lost this weekend. I don't think it writes us off. We've seen Man City get a bad result against Wolves not so long ago. We've seen Liverpool just draw to Luton as well. You know, Manchester United are, just about clutching on to this kind of top half of the table position. Chelsea, you get the feeling they're still not quite there. So it's not season over at all. It's not season over at all. But Romero, as quality he is as a football player, and he really is a fantastic centre-back, he can be a bit of a liability sometimes, can't he? But you could say the refereeing was terrible. Like, UDOGIE and Romero both got sent off in the end, but they could have both been sent off before they were even sent off on different occasions. So I don't know if I want to call it terrible refereeing. It's just it seems like a lot of heads were lost in that game. There was some questionable things going on basically that whole game, to be honest. So anyway, to summarize, guys, if you're looking for a new defender right now, this is a list of players that I would kind of be considering. I'm going to start to narrow it down a little bit. Don't think Hall. Would not be fully confident in Tsimikas. Duncan Estupinian, I don't think we have enough information about Estupinian right now. And if you're going to go for one of them, it's probably going to be Estupinian, right? Livramento is super risky, so I'm not really feeling that one. Anderson's a little bit more expensive than his teammate, so we're not sure if I'd want to go there, which basically takes away a decent amount of players. I appreciate that. Could we throw Saliba back in the mix? I think we could, to be fair. Is Saliba even on my list? He's 5.2 million, so let's just increase that up a little bit. We could throw Fabian Schär in there as well, I think, because he's pretty nailed on, right? So there you go, guys. I think these are my favourite defenders that you want to be bringing in this week. And we'll include the Man City guys as well, just about. So again, it's going to depend. I'll order this by price from most expensive to least expensive. This is my order of best defenders to go for right now. Trippier, Walker, Stones, Saliba, Schär, Gabriel, Guehi, Mitchell, Branthwaite, and Lascelles. I think they're all decent picks. Few more suggestions in the chat. Eric says no so foul. Nah. West Ham's defense is just too bad. It's just too poor. They concede so many goals. It doesn't matter who they play against. They will concede goals. They just do not look defensively solid right now. They really don't. Christian says White. I don't really know why you would spend that much money on White when you can go for a Saliba or a Gabriel. I don't think you gain enough from it. I don't think it's good value for money. Like, Ben White is like, what, 4.7 million? No, 5.7 million now. That is super expensive. Too expensive. If you're spending that much money, I think I'd probably just rather go for like Saliba if you're happy to spend money, and just bank the 0.5, spend it on something else, because we're already all struggling to fit in like, Saka and, Trippier and like all of these players into our FPL teams. Like, we want to save money, and I just don't think it's a sensible use of money. So for me, not feeling it. Drew says Dallo. No, I wouldn't go for Dallo either. I don't trust, well, first of all, don't trust that he'll play every game. Like, there could be some rotation with Wan-Bissaka there. But I also just don't trust Manchester United, full stop. They've been a really weak defence this season. Maguire would go in the same kind of category. Although I guess Maguire is a little bit cheaper. So I understand the Maguire shout more. But if I'm choosing now between Maguire, Branthwaite, Lascelles, these other cheap guys, I'm picking Branthwaite or Lascelles, to be honest. So yes, I think that pretty much covers it. I think that covers the best like cheap defenders to go for, which I think I'm happy with that. I'm happy with that. Right. Okay. Let's move on to the next topic, which is going to be talking about Maddison. So obviously we don't know the extent of Maddison's injury yet. It looked like he kind of rolled his ankle. I don't know if anyone's caught the post-match interviews, whether you know about Maddison's injury. I don't know. Hopefully we'll find out some more information over the next couple of days. But if we need to replace Maddison, I don't even think I need to look at charts or anything like that. We'll do it anyway. We'll have a look anyway. But I know the two players I want to talk about immediately for midfielders in that kind of range. So looking at midfielders, for midfielders, I want to maybe look at this like slightly. I want to see the form a little bit more. So let's go game week 6 to 11 and have a look at some of the best midfielders to go for. And there's three names. I would say two or three names that I really like. And I'm going to assume you guys have Salah and Son already, or if you don't have them, you probably can't afford to replace Maddison with one of them, to be fair. But straight away, I'm going to say, I'm actually not going to say Palmer. He is a good player to own, but you're probably not going to replace. You're going to replace Maddison with Palmer ahead of the next two fixtures. Like, the next two fixtures are pretty bad. Like, I know he did well against Spurs, but that was the best fixture of the next three. And that's not a great fixture. So maybe not Palmer. Probably not kind of the thing that you're looking for right now. But certainly Mbeumo, Bowen, and Saka. So I'm assuming you've got Salah. I'm assuming you've got Son. If you don't have them, you probably can't afford them anyway. And Palmer, don't think he's quite the right pick. So after that, we can look, and we're just looking, by the way, guys, this list is midfielders in order of expected points over the last 6 game weeks. And that includes Saka, who's only played 5 games during that period. So actually, it's a small advantage to Saka in that regard. But if we skip the first 3, Mbeumo, Bowen, Saka seem super, super, super obvious to me. Super obvious. Like, so obvious, like, the only discussion that really needs to be had is which one to go for out of those 3. Now, looking at fixtures, that is going to be one thing we look at when considering who we go for. So let's go on attacking fixture difficulty till game week. Let's go till game week 17. Because I think we can be a little bit shorter term thinking on this bad boy. And we can see that Arsenal, best fixtures. They have played Burnley, Brentford, Wolves and Luton, Aston Villa and Brighton in the next 6. That is a really nice run of fixtures for an attacker. Really, really nice. So Saka, if you're not too worried about the form that him and Arsenal are showing right now, and, you know, obviously Jesus being out, Ødegaard being out, that is going to impact Saka a little bit. So that is definitely something to consider. But the fixtures are phenomenal. They really are. Hopefully, Saka's going to be on penalties with no Ødegaard in the team as well. With no Ødegaard in the team, Saka's, you would say, probably nailed on for penalties. We probably said that before. I know Havertz took one, but there's probably more to, you know, help build his confidence and stuff. So I don't think that's going to happen too often. So Saka should be on penalties, right? Martinelli is a suggestion there as well. I don't know. Yeah, maybe. My ball manager says I don't trust Mbeumo anymore. Why, man? Why? He's so reliable. He looks so good. Roy has just in the chat updated us. Ange Postecoglou has apparently just said Maddison's got a knock on the ankle. Hopefully not a serious one. So I guess. Mihai says, check Gordon's stats, insane quality for price and better fixtures than Chelsea with Palmer. No, Chelsea don't have better fixtures than Arsenal. Chelsea have horror fixtures in the next 2. They play Man City and Newcastle back-to-back. That's pretty much 2 of the worst fixtures you can hope for as an attacker. Really, really bad fixtures. And obviously his stats have been padded by penalties as well. And by the way, I'm saying this, guys, as a Palmer owner. So look, I'm under no illusion that, you know, you know, I got a bit fortunate this game week with Palmer with the penalty, and obviously Chelsea running away with the game. Palmer was able to get that assist at the end of the game. Palmer has been, look, his numbers are good, but they have been inflated by penalties. And also the next two fixtures are horror. They really are horror. It doesn't get much worse. It really doesn't. So I would not be jumping at Palmer. And I know people will anyway, because he scored a lot of points in Game Week 11. And I'm sure the you know, the reptilian brain in all of us at the back of our head says, player score points, me by player. Which is understandable. It's totally understandable. But I would be looking to hold off personally. Particularly if we're looking for a Maddison replacement, we can get someone far more potent, far more reliable. You remember, like, Mbeumo and Saka are also penalty takers. So you're going to get that from them as well, which is good. Which is good. So, yes. Arsenal have the best fixtures probably by far, I guess you would say. Maybe not by far, because West Ham have pretty good fixtures here as well. They don't have a Burnley. They don't have a Luton. Oh, wait, they do have a Burnley. They play Burnley in 13. All right, well, I'm a liar. Okay, West Ham has good fixtures as well. Nottingham Forest, Burnley, Crystal Palace, Spurs, Fulham, and Wolves. Really nice run. Really nice run of fixtures as well if you're an attacker. And like, the West Ham attack looks so good right now. So certainly between Saka and Bowen, you're looking at two great FPL assets. Bowen is probably the player more in form. Apparently I missed a super chat as well. George Holt, sorry George, says, Eze, I've got Trent, Diaz, and Nunez. Do I move them on? I wouldn't be desperate to keep them. Like, Trent is definitely not a player I'd want to own long term. You probably hold Trent for the... to be fair, would you hold Trent for the Brentford game? Probably not. No, downgrade Trent. He's taking up too much money. You know, he's just not a pick. 7.9 million for 2 points every game week. It's not the one, is it? It's just not the one. He's not nearly as creative as he has been in the past. Liverpool, as always, concede goals. And they've got Man City in Game Week 13 and Brentford now, which is not a great fixture either. So, yeah, Trent's got to go. And you've mentioned Eze is an interesting shout. Like, Crystal Palace have some okay fixtures. I don't really like the Everton fixture that much. After that, we've got Luton and West Ham, Bournemouth back to back, which is nice. So maybe you could hold off one more week before going for a player like Eze. Certainly an interesting one. Certainly, yeah, it's a little bit of an interesting one. So you could do. But will you? Don't know. Not sure. Not sure if I would do that or not. I would maybe hold off on Eze for one more week, I think. But it's an interesting shout. He's certainly, and he's a lot cheaper. What is it? 6.1, 6.2 now. Pretty cheap. So that could be pretty good. So yeah, that's that one. So yeah, right. Arsenal and West Ham, Saka and Bowen. Great fixtures, great players. Nice. The other player I mentioned was Mbeumo. Now, Brentford do have more difficult fixtures, particularly in the next two. They play Liverpool and Arsenal. I always fancy Mbeumo to do well on the counter-attack. If Liverpool and Arsenal are dominating possession, which we expect they will do, then Mbeumo on the counter-attack is going to be pretty nice. We know that the way Thomas Frank at Brentford likes to play, when he plays against big teams, he plays with two strikers and a back five. And the two strikers, well, one of them is going to be Mbeumo. So Mbeumo is going to play in a more central striker kind of position. And in these tough games, going to be able to counter-attack. So yes, on paper, it doesn't look great. But we're talking about a player in phenomenal form right now, on penalties, has the ability to counter, and he's going to be playing in a very good position on the field. So he's definitely still a player to consider. After that, Luton, Brighton, Sheffield United, Aston Villa. Really nice fixtures if you're an attacker. Really nice fixtures. So, I love them all. And yeah, I'd be really interested to hear what you guys think about that one. Maybe we should do a poll. Let's run a quick poll, which is going to say, who is the best Maddison replacement if injured? In brackets, because we do need to add that caveat. And we're going to throw in Mbeumo, Bowen, and Saka. Polls in, guys. Make sure you are voting. And we'll get an idea of what you guys are thinking. Because I think it is between those three. Can't really think who else I would include. I mean, there's other players that, like, you know, outside shouts, you know, Foden, if you want to take a risk there. I know people try and talk about Doku. You know, a lot of people will buy Doku, but you know, I can only do so much talking on that one. But I already spoke about Doku a lot in today's video, didn't I? But we'll talk about him again in tomorrow's video, I'm sure. Don't know who else to talk about really. Like Gordon, maybe, but no. Palmer, yeah, he's okay. These players are a little cheaper though. I'm not sure they're kind of the right mold for what we're looking for. If you have the money to spend, you know, if you've got the 8.1 million to spend on a midfielder, you're probably more likely to go for someone a little bit more with a little bit more sting. A little bit more sting. That would be nice, wouldn't it? Mihai says we can wait for 2 more game weeks with Mbumo. Why rush? If Maddison is injured, you need to find a new midfielder. Then you do need to rush. Also, like I just said, I really don't think the fixtures are that bad for a player like Mbumo. I really don't think they're that bad. Bad on paper, but Hussein says people saying Saka are looking at last season's form. No, he's had some really good moments this season as well. He's not in his best moment right now, but you know, I don't think we can say he's been a bad player or anything like that. The votes are going in the poll. It is Saka leading right now, followed by Bowen, and I think the fixtures may be putting off a few Mbumo prospect owners, which is you know, fair enough. I definitely do understand. Odin says Saka seems like the obvious pick, but watching him play, you know, it's not been great. Yep, I kind of mentioned earlier, Ødegaard and Jesus are going to have an impact. How bad is the Maddison injury? Ange hopes it's not too bad. It's just a knock. I guess we'll see. We'll wait for training photos and stuff like that. Like, Spurs play the early fixture. It's one thing to consider, guys. Like, if you can hold off for price changes and stuff, then we can... Oh, actually, I don't even need to throw it on screen on this tab because you guys can already see it, can't you? You guys can see it, like, way over there. Oh, wait, no. That's last game week's fixtures. I haven't updated this on screen. I forgot to update it. All right, hang on. Let me do that real quick now then. Where is it? It's in my files. Yeah, apologies, guys. I've completely forgot to update the fixtures on my screen, so I will do that now. Let's grab these files, if it will let me. Will you let me download these files, please, sir? Okay, apparently it's not letting me download files. Bear with, guys. They're just basic PNGs. Why can't I have them? Why would I want them on my computer? All right, well... Okay. Oh, here we go. Right, it's working now. It's working now. Apologies. So, we need to update this overlay here. And then you guys can see, yeah, it's the 12:30 UK time fixture. And we need to do it on this view as well. Yes. Spurs early kickoff. 12:30. So... we very well may get early team news on that one to try and, I don't know, help us make the decision on Maddison. So if you can afford to hold off on that one, I possibly would. But it's going to be depending on price changes. Some people are going to be priced out. Me, for example, like if I go to my team, if I want to remove Maddison and I want to get in Saka, I can't afford for either of them to change in price because I have the exact money. I have the exact budget to go for Saka, and if I don't, then you know it's Bowen for me. It's going to be Bowen. Honestly, I don't mind keeping Maddison. To be fair, like I think Wolves is a decent fixture. Aston Villa after that is a decent fixture. After that, it gets a little tougher, but I don't mind keeping him. But I also don't mind selling him either. He's one of those players I don't mind I don't mind selling him or not. Obviously wouldn't buy him at this point. So yeah, we'll have to see. But yeah, Saka. Mbumo, Bowen, they're the guys. They are really, really obvious. I mean, because Spurs are missing a couple of players now, there's argument to say sell Maddison regardless of his availability. But I know, particularly if you've got UDOGIE or, you know, Botman or Burn or all of these other issues, it might not be an option. It might be a bit luxury. So for that reason, kind of depends. It depends on a lot of things. So, there we go. Right, let's start wrapping up this stream. I know we've only been going for 40 minutes, but it's pretty late because we started later because the game went on for so long what we'll do is we'll go through some potential price changes. Oh, actually, no, I know what we'll do. I'm going to go through the potential price changes for this week. Whilst I'm doing that, I'm going to do another poll, and it's going to be an early captain poll for what we're thinking for captains. And yeah, whilst you guys are answering on the captain's poll, we'll have a look at some price changes, and then we'll finish off with some questions. So we'll get some questions from you guys and answer them from the chat. So ending the first poll, who is the best Maddison replacement if he's injured? The final results were Saka on 44%. No, Saka on 43%, Bowen on 39%, and Mbeumo on 16%. Is the mathsing there? No, it's not. We're 1% out, but hey. So Saka, favourite, followed very, very closely by Bowen, and Mbeumo a little bit lower there. So make of that what you will. Saka is the FPL Mate chat's vote for the best Maddison replacement if he's injured. New poll. New poll is, who is the best Game Week 12 captain? And it has to be between Salah. Haaland is always on there. He's just always going to be an option. He's always going to be captained by a lot of people. I think Son we throw in there, who probably before today would have been the favourite, potentially. Actually, no, who am I kidding? Salah was always going to be the favourite because he's Salah. And finally, I guess Saka. I know I'm not going to put an other in there. Like, honestly, like, low-key, I'm, like, Trippier? Nah, that'd be crazy, right? Would that be crazy? I don't know. But Salah, Haaland, Son, and Saka are the options for your poll. We'll see what you guys think about that one. And whilst the answers are flooding on there, we will go to price changes. So, you want to know about price changes, do you? People saying Watkins in the chat as well. Form. Fulham aren't actually that bad defensively. Yeah, I'm not feeling it. We'll leave those four options for now. I'm sure it looks like Salah's going to win it anyway. People just like captaining Salah, don't they? There's something, I don't know, something quite relaxing about captaining Salah, because you know that if you don't captain Salah, like, it doesn't matter how bad Salah plays, he's going to get lucky and get something from a game. Like, it's just what he does. But like, I have to say, once again, against Luton, Salah looked invisible. But he just pops up and scores FPL points. But it looks like a lot of people are going to be going differential. A lot of Trippier and Watkins shouts in the chat. If you fancy it. I'm not sure I'm going to go there, though. Anyway. I'm really interested now what the 100 experts are going to say on this one. Who are they going to be captaining? Interesting. Anyway, so if these are your price changes. I'm going to order it by the transfer. No, I'm going to order it by progress. So, and Nketiah is looking likely to go up in price tonight. Maddison, by some miracle, obviously not a lot of people watch the game, because Maddison is somehow likely to go up in price as well. How has that happened? Don't ask me. But yeah, could see Maddison go up in price tonight as well. So Nketiah and Maddison are the most likely price rises for this evening. After that, Tsimikas doesn't look like he's going to go up anymore. We're looking at Raya to go up in the next couple of days. Anderson, Joachim Anderson at Crystal Palace. 2 days, he's going to go up to 5.1. Mitchell should go up to 4.6 tomorrow, so you might need to get a move on that one if you fancy it. Son going to go up in 2 days, apparently. So he's going to have to see another price increase up to 9.7. Crazy, crazy stuff from him. It looks like Bowen is safe. Probably not going to go up before the next deadline, which is kind of interesting. Yeah. Yeah. Or does he? I don't know. Maybe he does. If Maddison gets a Dorito of death next to his name, like, Bowen is probably going to start going up a lot quicker. So, yeah, there is that. After that, not really too many players likely to rise in price. Like, Watkins and Saliba maybe go up in price, but possibly not, to be totally honest. That's pretty much it. Like, who's trending upwards the most? So Doku. Doku, Nketiah, Mitchell, Son. Wilson probably doesn't go up. Neither does Trippier. Like, Trippier is... a lot of people are buying Trippier, but, like, so many people sold Trippier in Game Week 11 that his progress bar for price change is actually, like, really low. It's in the minuses. He almost had a price drop until he scored his 9-pointer against Arsenal. That is what saved him from a price drop to 6.9. Crazy, crazy stuff. But aside from that, yeah, in fairness, it doesn't look like there's going to be that many price changes this week. Or price changes up. Even Saka doesn't look too likely to go up. But like I say, when Maddison gets a Dorito of death, people will panic and people will make panic transfers. And suddenly the likes of Bowen and Saka and Doku and Mbumo and whoever else will start rapidly going up. Rapidly going up. In terms of price changes downwards, who's going to go down in price? I'm changing the progress bar to the opposite way. Kai Havertz looks like he's going to go down to 7 million tonight. Henry down to 4.3 in a couple of days. We've got a few other kind of random-ish players here. Solanke, I know a few of you guys own Solanke. He's going to go down in price pretty soon as well. Neto's obviously going to keep going down in price due to his injury. UDOGIE, yeah, he's going to go down in price probably this week down to 4.7. And I wouldn't be surprised to see Romero in a similar situation. Odegaard probably go down because a lot of sales due to his injury. Ward-Prowse could potentially go down as well. So there are actually genuinely a lot of players who could be going down in price. Matty Cash as well. Dorito of death effect. He's probably going to go down to 5.1 tomorrow. Haaland maybe goes down in price. I'm not sure. Burn, he could probably go down in price to 4.6 in a couple of days. So it might force some of you guys to make your move a little bit earlier if you are looking to sell Burn. But Stupinian, like, if he can go down to 4.9, probably not going to happen. But if he can, he's going to be, he could become a really, really nice option at 4.9. That could be a really, really, really good pick at that price, I think. So anyway, those are the players going down in price. Let's wrap today's stream up, guys, with a bit of a Q&A. So, guys, if you have any questions, let me know in the chat. The more generic the questions are and the more applicable they are to everyone watching, whether you're in the stream, whether you're watching this at a replay, appreciate you all, guys. We want to keep things interesting for everyone rather than just looking at each person's individual teams. Probably not going to answer those questions as much, at least. I'm going to end the captain poll. It's an absolute landslide victory for Salah. So the chat currently thinks Salah is the best captain at home against Brentford, which is kind of interesting because going back to the best defences, Brentford are up there. Like, what was that, seventh best defence in the league? Pretty decent. But yeah, Saka, you're not totally surprised with the Burnley fixture to see him second place, I guess. Haaland's always going to get some votes. Son's got some votes there. But I think a lot of people will have watched this game tonight and be really put off by Spurs assets in general. I actually still think Son is pretty important as a pick in FPL. But I understand why, when we're doing this poll immediately off the back of that Spurs game, I understand it. I definitely do understand it. Okay, so let's start off with Cash. I asked a question we did answer earlier, but for the benefit of those you guys joining later on in the stream, the best replacement for UDOGIE or Burn or Romero, whoever you have, in my opinion, is probably going to be Gabriel. But I would also throw in, some other players in there, which are here. All of these players you see on screen right now, guys. So that's Trippier, Walker, Stone, Saliba, Cher, Gabriel, Gahey, Mitchell, Branthwaite, and Lascelles. These are my favourite defenders right now in FPL, and I'd be looking to go for most likely Gabriel or Mitchell. Those are the two players I would be having the closest look at. Gabriel's a bit nicer for the longer term. Mitchell's next 4 fixtures are decent, but after that, it gets a lot worse. So if you've got someone to rotate with Mitchell, great. If you only need a defender for a short period of time, Mitchell is also great. If you want someone a bit more long term, Gabriel is probably going to be your answer there. So those are the players I would personally go for. I don't know if you're all going to like that answer or not. I'm just giving my opinion on that one. Just giving my opinion. Floyd says Saka captain. Yeah, if you want to, he's an option. Sahil says sell Watkins for Wilson. I would not do that personally, no. I mean, people in the chat before were talking about captain and Watkins, so certainly not a player you'd be looking to sell. Dennis says, is Martinelli a good enabler? Not I don't know, as an enabler, really. He's not cheap enough to really get that enabler status. He doesn't really enable enough. If you want to just save some budget, I would rather, go for a Cole Palmer or someone like that, or a Brian and Mbumo, both cheaper than Martinelli and probably better picks, like regardless of the price. So don't feel like you need to spend all of your money if you don't want to. Pick the player who you like. Twisted Sparky says best burn replacement. Oh, we just did that. Livramento in consideration. We spoke about Livramento earlier, so do make sure you check out the stream replay if you want to have a look at the at some more chat around defenders. We covered it extensively at the beginning of the stream, but yeah, my kind of final decision was that Livramento is a little bit too risky for me. I don't think he'll start regularly enough. Should people be scared owning Porro? I mean, next game week is going to be tough with defenders out, and the fixtures do get worse. I would not be desperate to keep Porro. If I owned Porro, I would not be desperate to keep him. He's definitely a player that you could put on your, I don't know, what's the opposite of a watch list? Like a potential sell list, I guess. Marco says, is Kudus an option? Yeah, he is. Yeah, I really like him. Really like him as a differential. 6.5 million. Looks really good. Hopefully he's going to start regularly playing games now, because he started the last two for West Ham, which is really nice. Look really good. So, like him, love him. Nick, with a rather tongue-in-cheek question. Dan, is Jackson now essential? Honestly, Nick, I cannot wait. I cannot wait to see how many transfers in Jackson has this week. He's going to have a boatload of people transferring him in, and us as people who know what we're doing are gonna enjoy that, and we're gonna reap the benefits of that. People who just pick the players who scored the most points last game week without watching the games, without knowing the context, without looking at the fixtures. These guys are absolutely crazy. But look, the whole point in not doing our research and watching football and stuff like that is to take advantage and get an advantage over, people who are maybe not as invested as us. Because can I say that Nicholas Jackson is about to do the same business against 11 men who also play for Man City? Can't really see it happening. Ziani says, do you advise me keeping Trippier? There's so few defenders that are interesting right now. Owning Trippier is honestly helpful, because it means you only have to make a decision about 2 defenders in your FPL team rather than 3. So I think if you have Trippier, he's a solid hold now, a solid player to hold. Adam says, what area were you raised in? I was raised in the Cambridge area. Still live in the Cambridge, Hertfordshire area to this day. To be fair, Bruno for a 1 week punt. Oh, no, I'm not feeling it. A 1 week punt at the absolute max. Do not get stuck. Do not get stuck with Bruno Fernandes or any Man United players. To be fair, Thunder says keep Cash or Romero. Well, Romero is going to be suspended. Cash, I think, is going to be fine. So I guess on that logic, you sell Romero. But let's see what the Cash situation is first. We need to get some certainty on that one. But the news right now is that the Cash injury is not so bad. So I would take Romero, UDOGIE, Burn. These players right now are priority transfers out ahead of Cash. Remember, Cash is about to play Fulham. It's a nice fixture. At home as well. It's a nice fixture. Dennis says Alvarez to Darwin or Wilson. I don't know. I would consider keeping Alvarez, to be honest. I would consider keeping him. Ricky says who to replace Cash with. I mean, if you really want to replace Cash, I wouldn't feel that I don't think you have to sell Cash at all. But if you have to replace him, again, refer back to my list of players that are potential defenders to go for right now. Is Wilson a good captain option for next game week? I mean, I see the logic. If you already have Wilson, I see it. Maybe. Matt says, Dan, when are you making your transfers? I don't know, my friend, honestly. It depends how likely players are to change prices. I want to get more information. That's the most important thing. I need to get information about Maddison. If I have it, well, and Cash. If I get information about Maddison and Cash, I'm going to be in a really good position to make my decisions more sensibly. So I'm going to be waiting personally as long as there's no price changes, but we'll be gathering information over the next few days. Hopefully by the time we do our team selection video on Thursday, I'll have a good idea. If not, by Friday, when we get all the press conferences and stuff. And obviously we'll be on Friday, as we do every week, we will be going over all of the press conference news to make sure you guys are in the know in terms of who is injured, who is available, who's likely to play, who's not, what's going on in the world of our Premier League teams. Cesar says, what do you think about Grealish? Would not touch him with a 10-foot barge pole. DMM says, Maddison potential serious injury. We don't know yet. So far, the verdict is that it doesn't seem so bad, but it's so early, you know, you really can't tell. You really can't tell. Ricky says the best move will be Saka for Maddison. Yeah, he'll be the most popular one for sure. And he's definitely one of the best moves, yeah. Yeah, Saka, Bowen and Boomo. Those are the names. Those are the names. There we go. Gabriel Lascelles. Gabriel, I prefer Gabriel personally because he's a long-term pick and he means you don't need to make any more transfers in your defence for quite some time. And I do think that is another thing to consider before making your defender transfers. There is definitely, and this is the way I like to play FPL personally, and different people will play FPL in different ways, but for me personally, I like to pick a defender who I can just hold on to long term, or at least a couple of my defenders, you know, 2 out of 3 of my defenders are going to be players long-term holds, they're going nowhere. And I've got that in Lascelles and Gabriel. I know I've got them. They're going to be in my team for the next 10, 15 game weeks, most likely. Unless there's an injury, unless something changes. They are most likely, as things stand right now, they're going to be holds in my team. And I've got cash, maybe a player who I can mix around a little bit. But what that allows me to do is focus my attention on looking at the fixture runs, looking at the form of various attacking players and switching them in and out of my team as we move on. So, for example, you know, Bowen's in good form right now. If Maddison is injured or Maddison drops in form, for example, then I can do Maddison to Bowen. You know, if Diaby, his form starts to dip down and, you know, Mbumo's form starts to go up, then I make another switch, Diaby to Mbumo. And by making these moves, I can hopefully gain a lot of points. Whereas when you make defender swaps, defender moves, you don't typically gain as many points from defender transfer. So often is the case that you just want to have a guy in your team that can just sit there forever. Lascelles is not quite going to be that. And I think another potential trap that new Lascelles buyers might fall into, I think he's a really good short-term pick whilst Botman is out. Really good. But do not be tempted to spend all of the money in your bank, because when you come to replace Lascelles, you're probably not going to want to replace him with another 4 million guy. You're probably going to want to go to 4.5 minimum. By that point, a lot of the best 4.5s are going to be 4.6, 4.7, 4.8. There's going to be options coming up in the 5 million bracket as well. So, yeah, be aware of that if you are going for Lascelles. 1, understand that it's short term and prepare for that. And 2, just be aware that you're probably going to want to upgrade from there. So don't spend all of the money in your bank. Or if you do, at least find a way of getting the money back out of your team later on when you're ready to make that upgrade. Cena says Mitoma, if you want, yeah, like he's got a good fixture this week. I think, to be fair, like I said this a few times now, I won't keep going on about it, but in general, this fixture is good. After that, Forest away, Chelsea away, Brentford at home, Burnley at home's good. Then Arsenal away, Crystal Palace away, Spurs. Like in this run of fixtures, to me, if we're looking for actually good fixtures, there's 2, and it's Sheffield United and Burnley. Forest away is not ideal. All the other teams are kind of, you know, defensive that are, done pretty well this season in general. So yeah, he's okay. If you were getting Mitoma, you probably maybe should have got him a couple of weeks ago, but 1 week ago, 2 weeks ago maybe. But even that, like Everton and Fulham weren't great results. Brighton not in the greatest form, and there's going to be rotation. Like how many games of 90 minutes can Mitoma continue to play? Because they've got a lot of fixtures coming up with European football there as well. Things to think about. Iklas says Hwang for Parma. Honestly, man, like knowing that UDOGIE and Romero and Van der Ven are going to be missing for Spurs next game week, most likely. Like Wolves attackers, I would want to keep them. If you've got a Hwang right now, man, like I would be licking my lips. Having seen that game, I'd be like, oh my word! I thought as a Hwang owner, I thought I was going to have a good week in game week 11, but then game week 12 was going to be a rough game week for me against Spurs. Now you know it's going to be a lot better than you thought it was going to be. So I would be licking my lips. Joshua says, is Doku a contender now? Yeah, a contender for the biggest knee jerk of the season. Actually, no. Jackson is going to be the contender for the biggest knee jerk of the season. If he gets a decent amount of transfers in now, and he will. I mean, let's have a look real quick, guys. Let's have a look. Chelsea transfers in, 6,000 people so far transferring in Jackson. When we check this again by the end of the week, I think it could be pretty funny. I think, I could easily see Jackson getting 100,000 transfers in ahead of Man City. I can see it happening. People don't look at fixtures. They don't look at games of football. They just pick players that score the most points last week. 100,000 transfers in for Nicholas Jackson. It's happening. It's happening. And we will be there. We will be there. Right. Okay. I think that pretty much wraps up questions. There's a couple more interesting ones. So Roy says, what do you think about bringing Nketiah in? Yeah, don't mind it. Really nice fixture for him. Think he could do well. F1 says, any predictions on Estupiñán's return date? Could be as early as this game week, my friend. Could be game week 12, genuinely. If not, we're looking at game week 13. So soon, really soon. Johnny says, reckon Cash will be back next week. Right now, I'm under the assumption that he will be. But wait and see. Wait and see. We've got injury news. And Johnny John says, save your transfers and Kunku will be back after the international break. That's a good point. It's gonna change things a little bit. It's gonna change things a little bit. Evelyn says, Anderson a good option to swap Cash out? Yeah, you could potentially do that. He's a little bit expensive for me. I think you can get pretty much just as much from a Tyrick Mitchell or a Mark Gahey. So if you're happy to spend 5 million, you've got cash to burn, then you've got cash to burn, as in to sell, and then you've also got Anderson as well. But again, I personally am not looking at selling Cash. Unless I get confirmation that he is going to be out injured against Fulham, or likely to be out injured against Fulham, which we don't have right now, I am not going to be selling Cash. Thunder says, should I transfer Hwang back in? Well, no, probably not. But if you already have him, he's probably not worth selling. Like, don't buy, don't sell kind of player, right? John says, Nketiah for a hit? No way, man. Like, I think you're taking it a bit far there. For a player who's only going to be around for a couple of game weeks, like, as a punt, he's fine. But would I be spending, like, I don't know, hits on getting him? I'm not so sure about that one. Right. Okay. We'll leave it there. Thank you so much, guys, for your questions. Really, really appreciate them. Hopefully, we answered some useful ones. And hopefully, we covered a lot of topics in today's video that were quite interesting. Like, really, really good questions. Like, speaking about the defender replacements, thinking about midfielders to bring in as well. Captain is going to be a huge decision. I think this could end up being a really interesting week for FPL. Really interesting in terms of the decisions we're making, what we're doing. And I think, more importantly, and I love it when this happens, different people are going to start going different ways. There's going to be different paths starting to be crafted out. Some people will go down the safe Gabriel route. Some people will go down the risky Livramento route. Some people will go for the short-term Lascelles route for defenders. Some people will jump early on selling Cash and Maddison, rather than waiting for press conferences. Some people will wait it out and maybe they'll be punished for it because there's been price changes. We're going to have captaincy decisions. It's going to be wild. Like I said earlier, I cannot wait for a 100 experts video today because we just know that the captaincy decision is going to be wild. It's going to be wild. I think we could see the biggest split of the season so far. Either that or it's just going to be everyone captaining Salah, which is boring. But we'll see what our experts have to say about that one. But aside from that, guys, we are going to leave it there. Really appreciate you joining me today for this stream. And if you haven't done already, make sure you check out our tier list video that we uploaded earlier today, where we rank a lot of the most popular FPL assets, including some of the defenders we're talking about, including some of the midfielders we're talking about as well in there. It was recorded prior to the Spurs versus Chelsea game, so maybe some things have changed slightly. In particular, Maddison is on that tier list. I'll definitely bump him down a level or two with his injury situation. And we also did a best team type video as well on Sunday evening. So if you want to check out like the best kind of team of players that you want to be targeting moving forward, that video is on the channel as well for Game Week 12. So content is already rolling for Game Week 12. You know we love the grind over on the FPL Mate channel. But aside from that, I will see you tomorrow for Buy, Sell, Keep, Avoid. Looking forward to for doing that one. But until then, thank you so much for watching once again. And I'll see you later, mates. Bye-bye.